Hello, EcoQuest Challenge volunteers. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I used to love to search for stuff. Now, half the time I was searching for stuff that I had misplaced, which I tended to do too often. But a lot of other times, I just loved being outdoors and in nature, trying to find those hidden animals, maybe behind a tree or that pretty wildflower found in an open meadow. And I always remember my mom's advice in these scenarios. If you want to find something that you're searching for, you have to think like that object or that animal that you're trying to find. So for this month's EcoQuest challenge, I am challenging all of you to think like Vinca, Vinca minor, which is lesser or common periwinkle, also referred to as creeping myrtle. So in this field ID video, I'll be taking you out into the field as to what this Vinca looks like. And so I'm asking all of you to put on your green thinking caps and think like Vinca. So let's check out these field ID videos now to help you along your way to help report Vinca out in the field.
So I took my mother's advice and decided to think like Vinca and started checking out this trail at an old abandoned homestead. And look what I found, a whole field ground cover of Vinca minor, lesser periwinkle or common periwinkle or creeping myrtle. Take a look at this, completely blanketing the forest understory. And this is actually, you may hear it in the background, a stream here. There is no native species that is growing in this area. Look at this dense cover that you have here. So let's kind of zoom in on some of the features of what you're looking for. So here it is. This is your Vinca minor, and you can see as I get closer to my thumb here, this is a really dark, glossy green here. As I kind of fold it over here, I mean, there's a lot of thickness to the leaves. The underside is a little lighter green, and you can see it's a little bit like eyeball shaped, right? With a very dark, glossy green top, very prominent veins on it, but the veins are a lighter green and not white like some other lookalikes. It's more of like a lighter green color to it. You can see that the margins on this are completely smooth. So where my top finger is there, I'm not feeling any teeth or notches, which is another distinguishing characteristic. If you look at how the leaves are arranged on this, you can see that they come out opposite of one another, almost like a little bow tie or airplane propeller, kind of like two eyeballs staring back at you, right? Where my hands are. Imagine just like eyeballs in the middle of that. That's what I like to think of. As I am playing with the stem here as well, you notice that they're coming out opposite. There's a little bit of space between them, and the stem is also smooth. And it is kind of getting on the verge of woody right now, and there's no little tiny hairs sticking out of it. This is a hairless stem as well. And you can think about how this is growing. Well, it sends out like underground runners, and that is how typically it's going to spread through vegetative means, through through underground runners and continuing to spread horizontally. Even this can put down rootlets at each of the leaf nodes as it continues to spread, and that's how it causes this dense coverage here in which nothing else can grow. What's really interesting about this species is that it will not typically bloom until the spring, but even here you might see it popping up flowers, and this is what its flower typically looks like. You can see it's like a bluish purple, almost like a pinwheel appearance to it, right? 5 petals kind of coming out with kind of squarish ends on the end. So you may see even blooms at really any time of year. I'm filming this at the beginning of December, and you can still even look for these purplish flowers here. So those are the distinguishing features of this lesser periwinkle, common periwinkle, creeping myrtle, whatever you want to call it. It's Vinca. And to think like a Vinca, try to look for places in natural areas like this, like abandoned homestead areas that are converted into parks. But you can see just along this trailway, even on both sides, just the kind of coverage it can have. If you are disposing of yard waste or, garden waste or whatever in improper ways, or, in abandoned places like this where it can really kind of take over a forest understory. So think like Vinca, head out there and report your results to iNaturalist.
Before I send you out hunting for Vinca, I just wanted to show you some other lookalikes that it's often confused with. The first of which is another invasive vine called Japanese honeysuckle. And you can see a few pictures of the Japanese honeysuckle here. The main difference that it has is it tends to have more reddish stems. And if you look at the younger stem here, you notice the finish hairs alongside it and very clearly red. As it ages and matures, it tends to grow a little bit woodier. And when it does that, it'll actually have a hollow inside if you actually cut into it. But definitely when it's a younger vine, the Japanese honeysuckles have these finish hairs and are reddish. They also tend to have less glossier leaves than the Vinca do. So a little floppier, less sturdy and rigid. I also wanted to point out that in the spring, if you do look at the flowers of a Japanese honeysuckle, you see they almost look like a peeled banana, and they come in pairs here. And this was what gives the honeysuckle sort of its scent here. You know, a lot of scent coming out of these as well, but the white flowers growing in pairs along the vine. The other vine is another invasive one that you may confuse Vinca with. It's called winter creeper. It's a type of, it's in the genus Euonymus, you know, and I just wanted to point out that the main differences here are that the veins are a little bit more white or silvery on winter creeper. Winter creeper also tends to climb more vertically than Vinca does. Vinca tends to spread out more horizontally across the ground cover, and winter creeper can do that too, but it has more of a climbing tendency. And also, if you look at the margins of winter creeper, you see how it's got toothed margins on it versus the smooth margin of Vinca. In terms of iNaturalist posting instructions, it's basically going to pop up when you take a picture of Vinca. It's going to pop up as lesser periwinkle or Vinca minor. So when you're posting your observations to iNaturalist, just be sure that you are posting under lesser periwinkle or Vinca minor. And of course, if you have any questions, email us at invasives@nynjtc.org. You can certainly visit our EcoQuest website, subscribe to our Lower Hudson Prism YouTube channel. We love your participation. Thank you again to our partners. And we are challenging you again to think like Vinca. Hope to see your post soon.